And welcome to another episode of the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast on Stables Media. This is the weekly recap for January 2nd, 2022. Happy New Year, everyone, 2022. I'm Taylor Phillips along with Ed Smith. Follow me on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram at DT2Phillips, and follow Ed Smith on Twitter and Instagram at EdSmith313. My opening statement, the Michigan Wolverines finally made it to the college football playoff, but they learned the hard way that experience beats first timers. Ed, what is your opening statement?
My opening statement for this one was, while the ending to the season for Michigan football was not what I would have intended to see, it was still worth the ride, still worth the journey. And I think, like Jim Harbaugh once said, it is truly only the beginning.
Yep. You can follow our show on Twitter and Instagram at Michigan_truth. Like it on Facebook, follow it on LinkedIn, subscribe to its YouTube channel, and subscribe to its Reddit community, r/Michigan Sports Truth. Before we get started, sponsored by the Vig It Sports mobile app, where great fans cover. Use the referral code STABLES when you sign up, capital S and the rest of the letters being lowercase, including the letter B in the middle, as in billionaire. Use the hashtag GreatFansCover to support the Vig It Sports mobile app. Shout out to Cali Tickets. Visit CaliTickets.com or call 877-225-8425 to purchase a ticket to one of their featured events. That's CaliTickets.com or 877-225-8425. Now, the Michigan Wolverines, they got pounded by the Georgia Bulldogs 34-11 in the Capital One Orange Bowl in the college football playoff semifinals. The truth is, Georgia just schooled them. They have more college football playoff experience than Michigan, who made it to the college football playoff, like I mentioned before in my opening statement, for the first time in school history. And it's much like Alabama has more college football playoff experience than Cincinnati does, when Alabama just absolutely dominated them, kind of like the same way. Michigan, of course, still could have played at least a little better had they not made too many miscues, committed too many turnovers and such, settled for punts and everything like that. Yeah, they finally got a touchdown late in garbage time, but, well, we should have learned. Michigan fans should have learned the hard way when they were rooting for Michigan to win, which I don't blame them for. Most Michigan fans don't do their research about experience in the college football playoff tournament. So, Ed, I want your insight on that game and whatnot.
Really, the insight to go on what you said when talking about Taylor of Georgia having the experience, and I can agree to an extent of how that played a part of Georgia knowing what to do versus what Michigan was not able to do, because you could just tell from the word go, Georgia was ready from the jump. You saw how they were moving the ball down the field efficiently with very little to no resistance by Michigan's defense. The fact that they were getting productive plays on first and second downs, which created manageable third downs, like all those third and shorts, those third and ones, those third and twos, that because, you have it like that, Michigan, they want to get you in a spot, third and medium, third and long, to where they can send their pass rushers at you. But when it's a third and short, they can't do that. So that neutralized that one aspect of their defensive line due to the execution of Georgia being able to do what they did on first and second down. And once they were able to get the run going, they couldn't stop it. Michigan was overwhelmed from the word get-go. Georgia, again, what else can be said about them? There's a reason why that they were the number one team in the country for a majority of the whole season. I think it even speaks even greater levels to what Alabama did to them in the SEC championship game. So I think that should be more of a credit, of a tip of the hat to Alabama, and shows why Nick Saban is who he is. But I digress. Michigan did have a chance to answer. They had a chance to respond. And I figured, going into this, that maybe it will be a low scoring affair. After that first drive, my expectations immediately changed. Is that Michigan, I think they knew that too. The urgency was that we got to go, blow for blow with these guys. And I think that's what played into the decision to go for it on fourth down right then and there. I like the decision. I like the play call. It just came down to a matter of McNamara not having the right timing, getting that ball off just in time to where you would have had Eric All right there on the flat near the sideline. Matter of timing, matter of inches, but because of that, All can't make the play, can't make the catch. Georgia gets the ball back, immediately goes it down the field, and with that trick play touchdown, I knew from that point on we were in trouble. Um, I think you got to give credit to the defense on some part of, even after that initial onslaught, they did manage to hold it together for the majority of that first half with the 2 field goals. Because you got to remember, at one point, I myself at the very least was thinking, okay, our offense is not doing something, but we can, minimize the bleeding, limp into the halftime, knowing that we deferred and get the ball back to start the second half. Okay, 17-0, that's fine. Go downfield. You would have liked to score a touchdown, but hey, you get some points taking what you got them. Then you're thinking, okay, I wish you couldn't have, gotten a 3 and out or something, but hey, you gave another field goal. Okay, you're still good. If you can find some way to get a touchdown, go down 20-10 in the halftime, and you get the ball back to start the second half, that's a little bit of a microcosm momentum, right? Nope. Offense doesn't do jack squat, and then immediately after that, Vincent Gray gets burned, and that's essentially the kill shot right then and there. And I just knew from that point on the game is over. The idea of it being a competitive football game died right then and there with that big touchdown pass, and everything else was a formality after that. Credit to Georgia for not taking their foot off the gas pedal at all. You notice sometimes other teams, when they get to such a big early lead, so quickly and early in the game, big comfortable lead, they get complacent. That's what leads to some of these comebacks, or in some other instances, choke jobs. I think, the most notable example and a relatable example would be 28-3 by the Falcons in the Super Bowl against the Patriots years back. I guess the Bulldogs, learning from that and other previous failures of not being able to deliver when needed, they understood that. They kept their focus going, and they did not stop until they knew for sure that they were winning this football game, and that Michigan had absolutely no shot at coming back. Props to Kirby Smart and his coaching staff for keeping the drive and the focus on his team, on his players. I think it was just a matter of Michigan trying to punch up above their weight, but got a bit of a reality check. And while, again, disappointing end to the season, yes, but let's think about where we were. In fact, let's rewind the clock back 365 days to this very point, because let's not forget, coming off of that, Michigan had a horrific 2-4 season, got shortened by COVID, canceled by the rest of the season. Everything was an absolute disaster. Harbaugh's tenure was at its absolute lowest point. If you had told me on January 1st or January 2nd of 2021 that by the end of this year, you would see Michigan win 12 games, beat Ohio State, win the Big Ten championship, and go to the college football playoff, I would have said, are you out of your effing mind? But they did it. They got that. They accomplished that. That is something to be proud of. That is something to hang your hat on. What this group of seniors was able to accomplish, what Aiden Hutchinson did for himself, what Hassan Haskins did for himself, what that whole offensive line did for themselves, what Harbaugh and the coaching staffs did for themselves, there is something to absolutely be proud of for sure. This has been the most successful season of Michigan football since 1997. Be proud of that, but also use it to build upon that. I know Harbaugh didn't want to make the excuse of, we were just happy, we didn't want to be just happy to be here. We wanted to win. But I think you got the sense of that, though, looking on how the students look, and they couldn't help it. Who wouldn't? And I don't blame them for it. But it does give the younger players like J.J. McCarthy and Donovan Edwards that were staying on to see the Georgia players celebrate, wanting to get the understanding of, hey, it sucks right now, but when we're on the other side of things, it'll taste just as better. I think that is the motivation. That could be the seed, the plant of what you want the future to begin and to bloom and to blossom into. Because let's not forget what Harbaugh said, and he reiterated it. He said it once after Ohio State. He reiterated it again after the Orange Bowl. He said this is just the beginning. I firmly believe that is the case, because when you have the momentum of what you did against Ohio State, winning the Big Ten championship, getting all these recruits to commit the way you did, that can help establish a confidence of saying, hey, we got to the college football playoff, And I think there's still room for improvement for us to get to that next step. And the potential, the optimistic ideal of that can be enticing to want to see to bring in players that they need to bring in, but also their coaches as well. So more cohesion, more of that, I think, and plus added experience of knowing what to do when you get to there, I think could be the genesis of what we originally envisioned what Jim Harbaugh was going to do once he first came to Michigan to coach, which is win championships.
Yep. And it's a big step forward, winning the Big Ten championship, beating Ohio State, and making it to the college football playoff as
Yeah.
a result. And
Yeah, there is. I mean, and listen, I know people want to talk about Aiden Hutchinson and how he performed. No, Friday night was not one of his best performances, but that to me, that should not discredit or tarnish what he did that entire season. No, that's absolute too much hyperbole. Looking into a microcosm, trying to sample size his whole entire year and basically his whole career in Michigan based on what he did in one game. That was a stout team with a great game plan, knowing what to do to neutralize and basically lock down and shut out Hutchinson. That was executed flawlessly. That should not be used as a way to belittle or demean his stock, in my view, in terms of track stock. When you look at what he did in other most notable games this season, whether it be against Washington, whether it be in other games in the Big Ten season. We saw the touchdown that he scored against Michigan State that should have been called a touchdown. We saw, of course, what he did against Ohio State. He got a sack in the Big Ten championship game. He had earned, in my opinion, that right to be in New York for the Heisman Trophy presentation. And whether you say, oh, it's going to hurt his stock, no, it's not. He's likely still going to go 1 or 2 in the draft. And depending on how things may line up, if you think about it, it may be better if people have doubts on him, because that may persuade potentially the Jaguars to want to pass on him and go for Kayvon Thibodeau, which would leave Aiden Hutchinson open for the Lions. And I can explain that once we get to them momentarily. But yeah, that's something to think about, because it is still a realistic chance for Hayden Hutchinson to be drafted by the Lions, even after what we saw on Friday night. Yes, I firmly believe that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So Michigan ends their season 12-2. So yeah, 12-2. Alabama has more experience than Cincinnati, just like Michigan, just like Georgia has more college football playoff experience than Michigan has. So it was a hell of a season for the Michigan Wolverines. It really was. The Michigan State Spartans, they come back and beat the Pitt Panthers 31-21 in the Chick-Fil-A Peach Bowl, a thrilling ending. They were down 2 possessions, and then Jalen Reed with a leaping catch gave Michigan State the lead with a touchdown, and then a pick 6 when Pitt looked like they were going to win it with or tie it with a field goal or whatnot. But man, wow. And Dante D.T. Relaford said, we need a quarterback in this draft class. Is trash. Yeah, definitely for Michigan. Yes. Ed, what are your thoughts on that?
In regards to what I saw at the Peach Bowl, I agree with you, Taylor. It was absolute back and forth thriller. And you got to remember the fact that this was lacking some semblance of star power coming to this one, because let's not forget, speaking of talking about Heisman finalists and who should have been, who should have not been there, whatever, Kenny Pickett, Pitt's quarterback, he decided to opt out. He was going to skip, forego everything, focus on getting ready for the draft. After that, we saw Kenneth Walker do the same thing for him, for his own sake, for his own stock, for his future, which, by the way, he is well within his right to, just like other players that opted to play are well within their right to. These players should not be criticized either way for making a decision. That is their right. If they feel comfortable of wanting to play for the sake of helping out their team or for themselves, they can do that. They also have that right of understanding that, hey, I want to look after my future. I want to be as cautious as possible. This is an investment we're banking on here. You don't want to endanger that investment. So let's get the bowl game keep our health intact, get ready for the draft. I'm perfectly fine with either decision. That should not be criticized, no matter what end of the spectrum you look at. Going back to the game itself, Michigan State did very well for themselves, knowing the fact that your best player is out, not going to be in the game. That severely hampers your rushing attack. So what they were able to do, they threw the ball up and down, and knowing that it was their only course of attack, they still find ways to get production, get yards, take what the defense was giving them, and it found a way to work itself out. Peyton Thorne, he had what 300, over 350, almost 400 yards or so passing yards. Had 3 touchdowns, and he overcame bad mistakes. Let's not forget the interception that he threw that led to that was capped off by an 87-yard touchdown. Let's not forget the sack fumble that was picked up and rolled back away to the house. That was another touchdown that Pitt scored off of MSU turnovers by their own quarterback specifically. And they were able to overcome that, shake that off, and did what they were supposed to do. And that, frankly, was in a way reminiscent of what we would see teams under D'Antonio do. This felt like a D'Antonio era game in many ways and forms. No quit attitude, commitment to their game plan, physical play, both on offense and in defense. And once you add all that in together, you had it culminate in a pick six, which again, reminiscent of how their defense at the end of the day, despite the fact that they gave up all those yards and all those points to Michigan, it was still their defense that sealed it with an interception. The defense gets it done here with an interception, only this time it's a pick six. And you know what? Well earned, well deserved. Let's not forget what Michigan State was coming off of.
Cal Halliday, baby.
Let's not forget the situation that Michigan State was coming off of themselves going back to last year or even before last season. The way Mark D'Antonio retired and just frankly left them with nothing out of nowhere, out of the blue, essentially putting Mel Tucker at a disadvantage from the start. The fact that he is able to manifest that into now in just 2 seasons, a double-digit winning season, a top 3 finish in the Big Ten, or at least in their own division. But let's face it, those are the 3 best teams in the Big Ten all year, with MSU, Michigan, and Ohio State. You've now got 2 wins in 2 games against Michigan. And frankly, if you don't screw the pooch against Purdue, that probably would have been you playing for the college football playoff, representing the Big Ten as the Big Ten champions. So just like how the future is bright for Michigan, the ceiling is most definitely not just a target, not just a destination, but also a benchmark for them to go even beyond. So for what Michigan State, the future is just as bright for them as it is for Michigan. Absolutely.
Yeah. So Michigan State finishes their season at 11-2. Dante wanted to get a comment on Michigan and Georgia. Michigan needs a quarterback in this draft class. It's trash facts. Go blue, win or lose. The Big Ten can't mess with the SEC, and the ceiling was the Big Ten championship. I hope Georgia beats the brakes off Alabama. We should have played Cincinnati. They wanted a Georgia versus Alabama rematch. Well, see here. Well, simple. Not only that, but Georgia and Alabama, like I pointed out, they have more college football playoff experience individually and combined than Michigan and Cincinnati combined. And then another comment, yet you have to beat them all to sit on the Game of Thrones.
Yep.
The NCAA administration played chess and poker. Well, I don't think that's true. But really, but give them the facts, Ed.
Well, again, I think I can agree to a point where maybe you can make an argument because of how Cincinnati was the lone undefeated team out of that full 4th squad that maybe they should have been top 3, which theoretically, when you say Michigan versus Cincinnati in one semi, but then you would have heard the complaints about, they're still doing through. They purposely ranked it so they could get the rematch, where you can argue they purposely did these matchups to try to avoid that rematch. It's not their fault that Michigan pooped the bed. So there's that to look out for. And yes, the I don't think it's necessarily true that the Big Ten can't mess with the SEC. You saw what Ohio State did and has been able to do before. So I don't think that that statement is necessarily true. Hoping Georgia beats the brakes off Alabama. Listen, the way Bama's been rolling, I highly doubt that. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah, I know. So yeah, that's those are the facts that we have regarding Michigan and Georgia, and we already discussed Michigan State beating Pitt. Now the Lions get squashed by the Seattle Seahawks, 51-29 earlier tonight. The Seahawks led by as many as 31 points. The Lions try to make a comeback early in the third quarter, but the Seahawks were just too much. They were. The Seahawks, I think, were already eliminated from playoff contention, I think, but I could be wrong. But the Lions are still tanking. They're inches closer, according to ESPN, from that top overall pick. The Jaguars got crushed by the Patriots 50-10. Jaguars still hold that first overall pick. Lions still second overall pick, but it's getting very, very close. At least that's what ESPN thinks. But still, quite honestly, well, Lions just tanking. Jared Goff was out, and he'll be out again with a strained thumb against the Green Bay Packers at Ford Field in Week 18. So, Ed, still got to give analysis and analogy on this Lions Seahawks game, won't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, you're going to be at disadvantage when your starting quarterback is out. And frankly, that was disappointing here because I've actually seen the progression that Jared Goff has made since his oblique injury was healed, combined with, I thought, how it blended in with Dan Campbell's somewhat notable or noticeable improvements with the play calling. I thought it all blended together and meshed well that produced the performances that got the Lions those two victories. And not having that to continue that, keeping on rolling forward despite the task that you were having, it hampered your chances because you saw it in spurts and moments and instances the way they were moving the ball down the field that this is a team that knows what to do, they know how to do it. They don't have the talent, they don't have the right guys in the right spots to help them out. Like, for example, their run defense absolutely porous, their safeties got bullied all day up and down the field today. Rashad Perry put his head down. It became a literal bowling ball against this team. Reminiscent of Marshawn Lynch at his absolute best. Running off the field, getting first downs, getting touchdowns, just gashing the Lions defense. And frankly, the way things were going, I don't know, even if you had Jared Goff, things would have mattered. I think you likely would have seen the same result. I don't know if things would have gotten out of hand because, like I said, the way that the offense has been able to perform and blend together as of late, you could have seen more sustainable drives to where they can at least try, maybe not exactly match Seattle's score for score, but keep it close enough to where that even if Seattle gets their points, it doesn't become that much of a massive blowout as it became. But I still think they would have lost regardless. Um, I will say that Amon-Ra St. Brown looks like an absolute steal. It kind of
He's been
floors me.
phenomenal.
It floors me of how the fact that this kid was the 17th wide receiver, I believe, that was taken in the draft. Yes, 16 wideouts were taken before the Lions got a chance to pick them. Now, some were understandable. Like, come on, if you had a chance to take Jamar Chase, come on. Yeah, you would. I think Cincinnati is very happy that they have Jamar Chase. But, Amon-Ra St. Brown, he's making a name for himself. Let's not forget. He comes from a lineage, comes from with a bit of a hype and attention. Came from USC, was productive at college at a prolific college football power that is known for producing stars at that specific position at the wideout level. So he had a lot to live up to, not to mention the fact that his brother, Equanimous, plays already plays the NFL on the Packers. By the way, we're going to see a family reunion with them again this upcoming Sunday for the finale. So to seeing him blossom to what he has become throughout the course of this season, connecting with Jared Goff whenever Goff's had a chance to play, becoming an efficient weapon. I think we even saw him returning kicks today because Khalif Raymond, he is also on the COVID list. So he was not available. So Amon-Ra St. Brown, he stepped in. I got to say, if we see his development continue to go at the stages to where I think it could go, he could be, think Golden Tate, but probably with more versatility and younger. I think that could be the ceiling for Amon-Ra St. Brown. And frankly, if that's the case, that's a great weapon to have. Again, I think you mentioned the fact that in general, despite that, knowing that they were at a disadvantage, they didn't give up, showing that fight that is still within them, that resolve that's still within them, even down 31 points, making it interesting, keeping it close, fighting back as much as they possible. Taylor Decker, for God's sake, got a design screen pass catch for a touchdown. I think that's what the second touchdown catch reception of his career. So again, it's always good to see a big man get a scoring play in a football game. So there's that, and there is at least a positive to look at, another positive to look at with this loss, because combined with the fact that the Jets are unable to make up ground, the Lions, no matter what happens next week with them in Green Bay or what the Jags do against the Colts, the Lions will be guaranteed to pick in the top two. So no matter what happens, whether some form of act of God or whatever, that they lose again and the Jags somehow beat the Colts and they get the number one pick, whatever happens, the Lions will pick number two. So let's think about what I just mentioned earlier at the start. People are going to be saying, that Aiden Hutchinson's draft stock is going to fall, it's going to decline, it's going to do all that. I don't think so. I still believe that the Lions, looking at what we know, and knowing the type of players that Dan Campbell likes and wants to have on his team, like, I think Aiden Hutchinson was still on their big board. Nothing deterred them or changed them from that. And the fact that the Lions are in the top two, I believe that means their coaching staff is going to be involved at the Senior Bowl. So that means up close and personal scouting to see what Aiden Hutchinson does up close before you even get to the combine, which is the next step of the process. So you have plenty of reason to get an up close look at Aiden Hutchinson to see what you want, because should he still be there, if you're the number two team, with the number two pick rather, and the Jags say they take Thibodeau, you're still in the spot. Aiden Hutchinson's still right there for you if you want to take him. You could. There's still a myriad of ways you can go with that, because there's a lot of positions, a lot of holes that needs to be fixed. That needs to be fixed and repaired on this team, understandably so. But I think getting a more established presence on your defensive line, knowing and seeing what in past recent weeks, what Aline McNeil and Levi Onwuzurike has been able to do as a tandem, you give that duo another solid quality defensive lineman, but not only that, a guy who's an edge rusher that can perform on the edge, letting your two big boys just gobble up the interior, which again can stomach and stop and neutralize the run. I think is more of a plus than anything. Would probably be my own priority if I was making that top overall selection. After that, you plug in whatever hole you want to fix, whether it be wide receiver, whether it be linebacker, whether it be secondary. God, yes, secondary. And the fact that you have that second pick with the Rams plus other picks that you got, you can make it. You can stay where you are, or you can try to make a deal to trade up back into the first round to make another selection to grab a guy that you want, whether it be a safety or a wideout or whoever. And also combine the fact that I know that this QB class is not that strong. No, by no stretch of the means do you even consider picking a quarterback with your first two, dare I say, even first three picks. Yes, I understand your QB depth is shallow. Yes, I understand there's decisions to make on Jared Goff once we come to the end of his contract, and I understand all that. But there's other teams that other places that have higher priority in getting things adjusted before you get to the quarterback spot. I know that's almost foreign to think about that. Wow, you're not rebuilding with your quarterback spot, but again, the way this team is built, the way they're constructed, the way they have their plan and process going, they're building from within. They started at the trenches. They want to expand and branch out from that point on. And I think continuing to stockade your defensive line, plus adding adding a safe someone in the secondary or someone on the offense could be beneficiary as to going the easier out, saying, "Oh, let's just get a quarterback." No, I don't think it's going to work out that way. So no matter what, the Lions will have plenty of options of what to do come the spring for the draft. And as for the what else there's to talk about? What the Packers, like, come on, like it would be the most Lions thing ever if they do go and win. Which, frankly, if you're certain teams in the NFC, you probably are hoping that the Packers lose. In fact, you're not just hoping that the Packers lose against the Lions, you're hoping that the Packers lose against the Vikings because, believe it or not, I believe between the Rams and the Bucks, they both have the same record, which is right behind the Packers for that race for the number one seed in the NFC. So I think if you have any hopes of wanting to get that number one overall seed, you're kind of hoping that the Packers stumble in these last two games. Now, if they go out and put a number on the Vikings tomorrow night, it's all moot. But again, all those things to consider and look at into what you're going to be seeing on Sunday, playing for pride, playing for yourself. And I think knowing for the fact that, hey, we don't have to worry about hurting our draft stock or whatever. They may go absolutely all out in this one. No one gets against the Packers, and knowing that, hey, this may be the very last time that the Lions will get to see or at least face off against Aaron Rodgers within the confines of the NFC North division. So, hey, let's send his ass out on an L. I don't mind it. I would not be surprised. In fact, I'll go all in. Why not? Let's start off the new year on a positive note. Let's go with right now. My bigger predicted score. I don't even care about the score, the spread, or how much Green Bay's favored by. Let's go Lions 28, Packers 24. Yeah, I'll do it. Why not?
Lions are gonna win 28-24. You say?
I think that the home crowd will have them motivated enough, and they'll have enough of a general consensus and want to do with their game plan.
I don't know about that.
I think
I don't know about that.
Listen, let's not forget the way that they played them against Lambeau at Lambeau. I know they pulled away late, but that was a close game throughout. And I think
I know that.
And combine the fact that it's going to be at home, not in Green Bay.
Right, but even the home crowd would realize the Lions' record 2-13-1.
Oh, please. They don't care about the record. They want to beat the friggin' Packers.
Because they're slaps. They're slaps. That's the problem.
Yeah, there may be slaps, but I think it's reasonable to say, you know what, throw all the records out. It's a rivalry game, and you always want to beat your rival, no matter what. We've seen worser Lions teams beat better Packer teams before. It's happened before, and it can certainly happen now.
Well, yeah, but rarely. I'm gonna pick with my Viget scoring prediction: Packers 35 and the Lions 17. I just think the Packers are too much, even in a hostile environment. So, yeah, Aaron Rodgers is still a great quarterback. The Packers are still a great team with Coach Matt LaFleur. So that's reality right there. So that is the Viget's analysis and scoring prediction for Packers and Lions. Dante Relaford wanted to get in some more comments on the Lions. Thank you guys. Great points. Next question. Do you guys think Dan Campbell should come back? He doesn't. So, Ed, what do you think?
I'll let you go first, Taylor. I want to see you handle this before I give my thoughts.
Well, Dan Campbell is in his first year. I'm not sure about that. I don't think he was. Well, the play calling, I'm not sure about his play calling, but I get that he's a good motivator and a team leader. The play calling, I'm not sure about that. I'm just. I think the Lions will bring him back regardless of whether his play calling is good or bad. The Ford family trusts him. I President Rod Wood trusts him. Brad Holmes trusts him. Brad Holmes still has yet to stack more talent, whether it's in the draft or free agency. I think the Lions will bring it back regardless. Dante Relaford's next question: if an 8-season win for 2 years gets you fired, the bar has been set. No? Well,
okay. Well, in response to the first question, yes, I believe he's going to come back. He should come back. He's obviously going to be brought back because let's not forget he was given a 6-year deal on his contract. Him and Brad Holmes. I think Holmes got 5 years. Campbell by 6. Either way, they knew everything was not going to be fixed in year one. They knew the problems that they were going to be having, things that were carryover from the previous administration, if you want to call it that, with Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia. They had to clean up all that mess up, purge everything from that end of the spectrum, fill in with while also bringing in guys and making sure that their draft class are as on point as possible to fit with their scheme and their culture and what they want to do. I think you did a good job of it with this first batch of guys that you've gotten. You've seen, from the obvious to the not so obvious. You've seen the growth from Panay Sewell. You've seen the growth of a Jerry Jacobs, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Onwuzurike, McNeil. I think before he got hurt, Melifonwu was looking like to be one of your best corners before he got hurt. So you combine that to where okay, you trust the GM to make the decision in the draft, and for the fact that these players are willing to run through brick walls for their head coach. You cannot say that. Could not say that at all about Matt Patricia. You can definitely say that about Dan Campbell. So the fact that the players will be willing to go through anything for this man, have that level of faith and trust in him more than anything, regardless of whether or not the front office trusts him. If the players have their trust in him, if they believe in you, then that's one solid thing to have in your back pocket. So combine that, the length of the contract, knowing this is all part of the process, knowing that they still have time to fill the roster to fit their needs, because you've seen how they've been able to perform in a season like this. If they can just curtate and make improvements and make tweaks to their roster in certain spots, you could see a massive improvement in terms of quality and in win total. And I think what Dante's trying to say here, if an 8-win season for 2 years gets you fired, the bar has been set. I'm not quite sure what he meant in terms of tone or context. I don't know if he means that if the Ford family or whoever is going to have a short trigger or a short temper with Campbell if he doesn't have noteworthy improvement within a certain time frame. But I think, let's say, okay, he's at 2 wins. Listen, I was pretty much under the impression that this could be a 3-win football team. We've seen how they performed in many games this season. You can argue they should have at least 5 wins, but the record is what it is. So knowing that, this is pretty much around what I expected for them performance-wise this season. If they can double that to say officially 4, 5, maybe 6 wins next year, build upon that. By year 3, if they're at 8-9, 9-8, that type of deal, fighting for potential wild card spot, I think that's reasonable goals of expectations to expect in terms of progress from year to year. The goals you want to set for yourself, raising that bar higher and higher, not keeping it low, but raising it higher to making it more attainable. That what you want to attain is going to be worth through all that grit, all that grind, all that hard work. So, yeah, if you just have minimal progress throughout the next couple of seasons, I don't think that should be any problem at all whatsoever, especially for Dan Campbell, especially considering what this team has been through the past few years with Matt Patricia leading up to now.
Yep. And then another comment: the Lions help teams get a wild card or put them out of the playoffs. Yeah,
I guess he may be talking about what we saw for this season, because let's not forget, when they got their first win, it heavily impacted the Viking season. When they got their second win, it essentially opened the door for the Rams to now be in a spot where they're in the driver's seat for the NFC West division, and they could very well play a role in determining who gets the number one seed in the entire NFC if they somehow beat the Packers on Sunday. So that's a valid point of what Dante brings up, if he means in regards to what the Lions have been doing for this year's playoff picture.
Yeah. And then we also welcome comments on the Red Wings, Pistons, and Tigers as well. For example, Dante Relaford asked, can we sidestep to how trash Russell Westbrook is as a Detroit Piston fan that hates the Lakers? Now,
He,
TSO Sage has been bagging on Russell Westbrook as well.
yeah,
I've
he
seen
would.
that.
Yeah, he would be the better guy to branch into, especially the fact that he is a Lakers fan first and foremost. It's hard to argue that because he's not going at it from a fanboy perspective. It's absolute understandable common sense, analytics, eyeball test. Very smart and high IQ with his breakdowns. I recommend you check him out. TSO Sage on YouTube. You can find him all on social media and everything. But yeah, I think with the way that Westbrook is as a player, the way his style and everything, long term, while you would have liked to have seen it, it probably was not going to work, or it's not going to work as is with the Lakers, because with him and LeBron being essentially the same, having similar tendencies of needing the ball in their hands, how do you find a way to balance that out? I mean, now they're trying things, bringing in point guards. They just traded Rondo. They got to find a way to figure this out, especially now that AD's hurt again. Otherwise, you're looking at another disappointing season. It's already disappointing by their standards, and if they have another first round flame out, or God forbid, miss the playoffs again, yeah, you're going to see some changes. You're going to see some drastic things potentially happen. I certainly believe that, with the way, knowing how LeBron operates and knowing that he's got the ear of ownership, full support and ear this time, which is a completely different situation to what he was dealing with in Cleveland, in my view. Yeah, I could definitely keep an eye out on what the Lakers could do if things keep on going in the sour note that they appear to be heading towards.
Yeah. And definitely, you can check out TSO Sage on YouTube, subscribe to him, like his videos. Yeah, he has very good NBA content independently. So, one more topic to get to, some funky news.
Mm.
This is a funky news segment. Antonio Brown took off his gear publicly and trotted to the locker room at the in the Buccaneers Jets game at MetLife Stadium, and he got cut for it by and head coach Bruce Arians made the announcement: Brown is no longer a Buck. So, man, and this has to be very embarrassing. Antonio Brown just pulled a new Antonio Brown, I guess.
Um, I know from the outset, it like from a distance, it's easy to point at, laugh at, berate, ridicule him, and rightfully so in certain instances. Because let's not forget of the numerous chances, the numerous second chances, the numerous opportunities that he's been given time after time after time, year after year, team after team after team. The effort, and let's talk about effort, the absolute effort that Tom Brady went through to get this man on this team. He let him stay in his own house. Okay. And to get rewarded and get repaid like this, I don't know how to feel if I was Brady. I mean, I know he did the press conference, he did the public face thing where he said, let's have compassion for Antonio. But I don't know, man. At this point, the compassion train probably stopped, and it's now the Antonio, you need to get your S together train. Because whether it be getting, yeah, you can say, yeah, he needs help. But at this point, if you're compassionate or feel sympathetic, it's almost, aiding and abetting in a sense, to where, okay, you're just enabling this instead of telling them, hey man, you need to get some help for this shit. It's not the priority right now. Other things should be your priority, not this football stuff. And I don't know if it stemmed from the hits that he took early on in his career, especially that Vontez perfect hit in that wild card game, which was absolutely scary. I don't know what it was, or maybe this is what his personality has been the whole entire time. But yeah, AB definitely needs some help. But I would hope, for his own sake, he needs to want that help for himself And again, this football stuff is for the birds. And again, have more better self awareness. You know, the mental health is one thing, but also personality is another. And I think if this is who Antonio Brown's personality truly is, mm-mm, mm-mm, then you can have all the reasonable defenses, but you can't make excuses for personality. In my opinion, you just can't.
Spot on. Yeah.
Or
Antonio
character. I'm
Brown,
sorry, not personality, character, not person.
character.
There's
Yeah. That's the one we're
character.
looking for.
That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah. And there's a fine line between the two. Antonio Brown, a former Central Michigan Chippewa, one of my fellow classmates in PES 139, I believe, into sport management in the fall of 2009 when I was there. Yeah, I saw him in person. He seemed like a good guy back then, but man, when he entered the NFL, I just can't anymore. I just can't. People these days, really. Yeah. Yeah. And mental health, like Dante Rutherford, is nothing to laugh about.
No.
No, his character is something to laugh about, but mental health, yeah, that's it. That tells a different story. Yeah. Tom Brady won't win. Yeah, Tom Brady, that is. Another Super Bowl, bro, was damaged when he was in Pittsburgh. Yep. He threw a bowl of gummy, yeah, bag of dicks at his baby mom while she and his kids went to the car.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what urinating tree
this is
even
examples of what Antonio has
showed in
done.
public.
Where I think, yeah, I mean, you could say this may be an example of him having an episode, but at this point, you got to understand that this is part of his character of who he is. Then come on, man. You're
That was
just making
definitely
you're
not
making
funny.
right. You're making excuses for him at this point. We can't do that. It's called accountability. Accountability has to be held and maintained at all levels. Period.
Yeah, definitely. Accountability is 100% above all else. So let's get to what we've learned in terms of what we discussed tonight. What I've learned, Michigan fans Michigan fans that are getting wound up about their loss, about their football team's loss to Georgia, they still need to realize it's only Michigan's first trip to the college football playoff. Georgia, just like Alabama, has more experience than Michigan and Cincinnati combined, like we pointed out at least a couple of times on this episode. For the Lions, yeah, they're still tanking, and I still think the Packers are still a better team regardless of the home crowd. Michigan State, they finished their season well with a comeback win, and Antonio Brown, like we mentioned before, he needs mental help. Somebody's got to help him. Somebody in the NFL or counselor or something like that. He just needs mental help. Period. Ed, what did you learn?
I've learned that in regards to Michigan football, it's not the destination, but it's one big old stepping stone, one hurdle that I'm glad to have finally cleared. Now it's on to what can we do to get to the next level? What do we need to do next? What can we improve upon? What can we finish on? That is the next step. That's your next hurdle, your next challenge to get to what you ultimately want to see year in and year out from your program. So there's that. Very proud of the season, no matter how it ended. Just to get to see what we accomplished, I wouldn't trade for anything in the world. The Lions, there's still plenty of positive things to look at for what this team can do, not just for today, not just for next week, but for beyond and for next year. And if realized the right way and the proper way, could surprise some people. Michigan State is continuing their own trajectory in a massive way to where I really think things are shaping up to where we could see the Michigan State rivalry in a condensed sense. You gotta think of this in terms of context. Could have its own slice of a miniature recreation of what we saw Bo and Woody do with the 10-year war, only on a more local level. We're gonna see two high program, high quality athletic football teams go at it year after year, with high stakes and a lot on the line besides the usual bragging rights. It won't get to Michigan Ohio State levels, but it'll be able to recreate a microcosm of that in its own rivalry if things are on the up and up with both the Michigan State Spartans and the Michigan Wolverines. So props to Jim Harbaugh, props to Mel Tucker for the seasons they've had. And yes, I'll even say props to Dan Campbell for the seasons he's had of keeping his team together through the absolute toughest of times and still wanting to focus on what you can improve on and what you can still be achieved, whether it be positive thinking, cohesiveness, teamwork, or whatever. But it's gotten done. It can get done, and it will be done. So that's what I learned in regards to those teams. I'm hopeful for what they can give us for next year. And again, especially in the light of this now being the new year, with more awareness now with mental health, people got to look out for each other. We got to take care of each other better. If you see a person that needs help, make sure to get that help, even especially if you need it for your help for yourself. Seek out. There's no problem. There's nothing wrong with that. I wish someone should have let this or done this for Antonio Brown a long time ago. I still hope someone can do this for him now. So let his life, his story be that lesson, but also be that motivation for you of what you can do for your own self in your own life.
Yes, and that's what we've learned. Dante Relaford has one more question. Will the Pistons or Red Wings make the playoffs?
Pistons, no. Red Wings, maybe.
Maybe, yeah. The Red Wings got smashed by the Boston Bruins 5-1 at Little Caesars Arena. Pistons only have 6 wins,
Right,
but
they're
the
not
Red
doing
Wings,
anything.
they have lost their second wild card spot to the Boston Bruins with that 5-1 loss. So there's that. The Red Wings are still in this hunt, this playoff hunt, but they could go downhill from there, or they could make a surge to at least third in the Atlantic. I mean, like I said before, the Red Wings are not an Atlantic team because they're in Detroit. It's nowhere near the Atlantic Ocean. Neither is Toronto. That's why I made up my 2 NHL division realignment concepts. Check out my TikTok at DT2Phillips with 2 L's. So there you go. Pistons, again, have 6 wins. They're definitely not even be close to making the playoffs at all. Dante, they're like 6 and like almost 30 or something like that. Wow, that is an awful record.
They're more than likely to have a shot at getting another number 1 draft pick in the lottery again than they are making the playoffs this year. That's the reality, Dante.
Yeah, there is no shot of making that playoffs. Only if you have only 6 wins. That's it. So again, that is our show. Before we go, it is sponsored by the Vig It Sports mobile app, where Great Fans Cover. Use the hashtag #GreatFansCover to support the Vig It Sports mobile app and use the referral code STABLES with a capital S and the rest of the letters being lowercase, including the letter B in the middle, as in billionaire for Stables Media, when you sign up. That's the Vig It Sports mobile app. Also, a shout out to Cali Tickets. Visit CaliTickets.com or call 877-225-8425 to purchase a ticket to one of our featured events or an event of your choice. That's CaliTickets.com or 877-225-8425. And Dante Relford, another comment. I knew the Pistons wouldn't, but Kate's still playing the guy from Houston is crippled. That's Jalen Green by name. So our next episode, Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on Stables Media. Until then, Fred Smith, I'm Taylor Phillips signing off. Follow me on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram, like I mentioned before, at DT2Phillips with 2 L's. And follow Ed Smith on Twitter and Instagram at EdSmith313. And prayers to Frank Vasner, get better from laryngitis, at least soon. Try to work on that hesitation habit and whatnot. Follow the show, the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast, on Twitter and Instagram at Michigan_Truth. Like it on Facebook, follow it on LinkedIn, subscribe to its YouTube channel, and subscribe to its Reddit community, r/Michigan Sports Truth. And visit our website, the MichiganSportsTruthPodcast.com. Thanks for listening, watching, downloading, and sharing. And remember, the truth is out there. TTFN, ta-ta for now. Power to the people. Him with a high. We rest our case. Stay out of trouble, stay safe, and stay warm. Happy New Year.